to talk about Hispanic heritage and influence in the United States. They kind of overlap a little bit with last week's, but I'll try and come up with some new stuff for you guys. As you're reading, okay, we're going to explore the deep and lasting impact of the Spanish culture in the United States. Language, Hispanic Heritage Month, and how Hispanic Americans have contributed to the U.S. Spain was one of the first European nations to explore the Americas. You have Cristobal Colón. The blue line over here is Ponce de León. He went from Puerto Rico. He went to Florida. Florida, by the way, does anybody know why it's called Florida? It's not the flowers. It's because they landed there on Easter. Pascua Florida. So they called it Florida. Anyway, so when you have Florida, then they explored all the South, as you know. All the different routes are on here. There's Cabeza de Vaca, who explored a lot of Texas. If you ever go to San Marcos in Texas, the town, not the restaurant in Oklahoma City, although it's very good. I had never been there, and it was so good. Talk to them in Spanish; they'll be extra nice to you. I gotta tell you, I went with a buddy. Did I see them last week? Yeah, that's where we went. In the town of San Marcos, the university there, you can ask the librarian. If she's nice, she'll get it for you. They have his diary, Cabeza de Vaca's diary, his journal. So you can look at it. We got a chance to, I was taking a graduate level class, and we got a chance to go see it, and she's holding it with her gloved hands, and we can't touch it. So she said, would you, anybody like anything, to see anything? I'm raising my hand. And this is typical. If you're a book lover, you probably do the same thing. I raised my hand and said, can I smell it? I did. So good. But you have all that information on the Cabeza de Vaca. Also, by the way, in order to survive, he made himself slave to the Indians. Because at one point, they ran out of food, they ran out of supplies, and what they did is they made themselves slaves to the Indians in order to survive. So the Indians had to take care of them. It worked. Oh, hold on, sister's out here. Excuse me. Of all people to forget Christmas Day. 1, 2, 2, 5, count.
Sorry to be disruptive.
Sorry.
I can't break in even with the cup.
All right. Now, Spaniards established missions wherever they went. Those missions, many of those missions became towns. The mission of San Antonio de Valero became San Antonio. You have San Juan Bautista, Santa Barbara, or as they say, Santa Barbara, San Francisco. You have all these. So you have wherever they went, they established a mission. Yeah, I brought a whole bunch of stuff. So. You also have the Spanish influence in architecture. This is called the Spanish Colonial, which is the red adobe roof. You have the adobe walls. You have the patio in the middle. If you're ever in New Orleans, I don't care what they tell you, it's not the French quarters, it's the Spanish quarters. That whole section was ours before we gave it to France. They have all these houses that have beautiful patios on the inside. The whole house is built around it. And if you haven't noticed, our wonderful Blessed Stanley Rother Shrine is that style. It influenced also the names. You know this. Because you already know San Francisco, Santa Cruz, Monterey, all of these different towns up and down California, states, Florida, right? We have also that. Texas has come from Texas, which is what's an indigenous word for it. So they adopted it. Colorado, colored or reddish. You have California came from the name from a novel that the gentleman that discovered California was reading. So he named it California. It was supposed to be like an Eden type place. Las Vegas, Nevada, snowy Big Ear, and I don't know. Oregon could be Big Ear, Orejon, or it's named after the kingdom of Aragon, which is a kingdom in Spain. So that's kind of a Utah. The natives there called it Utah. So the Spaniards picked up the name and they called it Utah. So a lot of these names are on there. My favorite over here is this little town right outside of Austin, south of Austin. It's called Buda. B-U-D-A. The actual name is Viuda. V-I-U-D-A, which means widow. The train stop was run by two widows. So it was the widow stop. Las Viudas.
And where is that?
It's right south of Austin, a little town named Buda. Right after a town named Manchac, which really is Manchaca, named after a general in the army, General Manchaca. And together you go down Guadalupe. All of these names have been anglicized, and it's hilarious in Texas when you get there. But yes, Buda is a little town. You also have all the towns: Salamanca, New York; Salida, Colorado; Salina, Utah; San Antonio, Florida. I never knew that one. You have all the towns. Buena Vista, wherever Disney's at, that's their name. Buena Vista, good view. El Paso, Fresno, Vegas. Los Angeles is a shortened version of Nuestra Señora de Los Ángeles de Porciúncula. Yeah, try to put that whole name in a map. So they shortened it to Los Angeles. Monterrey, King of the Mountain; San Antonio, St. Anthony; San Francisco, St. Francis; Santa Cruz, Holy Cross. There's a lot of names, aren't there? We also have a lot of names in English that came from the Spanish. Bonanza. It's an old word. Not many people use it nowadays. But being prosperity. Cafeteria comes from cafeteria, coffee store. You got somebody who's incommunicado. Estar incomunicado, isolated. Jade comes from hijada. Nada, zippo, zilch, nada. Nothing. I'm sure when you use it, you start to realize it. But a lot of times we just use them and don't think about it. I don't even know Jade, personally. This is one of my favorite words. We were talking about that today in class. The kids were like, can we just take little naps? I'm like, you want a siesta? Yes, it's cultural. There used to be a singer named Rico Suave. He was very smooth. Yeah, it's all the funny stuff. And there's a place, and I don't know if they still have them. Do they still have the little taco places called Taco Cabana?
Yeah.
Yeah, Taco Cabana. Taco Hut. So we got the Spanish cultural practices like rodeos, flamenco dancing, all the mariachis. All that has become part and parcel of our culture. Some of it more than others. If you live a little bit further south, it is the culture. If you go down to Texas, Texas culture is the Mexican culture. There's no split in the two. But you have all this, and you have really good food to go with it. The Spanish missionaries played a significant role spreading Catholicism through the Americas. They built missions, which also served as community centers, served as schools. Look at all of the missions and places that they built. They eventually became towns. They built a town around it. San Antonio, which is, of course, was where the Alamo's at. It started with the Alamo. The Alamo was a mission. And then the town went from there. You have all of these other towns. You can actually go on El Camino Real, which is the royal road. You can walk all the way up like they did, because imagine them doing all of this, but they were walking. They didn't drive. They sure as heck didn't have a donkey to take them somewhere. So they walked around everywhere. There's a whole list of them. I'm not going to read them all, but there's a whole bunch of them. Well, in the middle of all this, we have the beginning of the end. Things start to change. All of this in yellow was the Spanish kingdom. That was Nueva España. Spanish Louisiana, it was given to the French. The French were smart and they sold it to the U.S. They made money out of the trade. So they could get something out of it. They needed help with something, and so the U.S. helped them out. But they gave Spanish Louisiana. So you have all of this, and part of it, what is called the disputed territory, actually was disputed because a lot of the other groups were coming in there. But the Spanish, Nueva España was almost into Canada. That's a big deal, folks. Basically, if Spain had not lost, I'm saying we because I'm kind of part Spaniard, but if Spain had not lost all of this, we would have name them two countries. You would have the United States, and you would have Spain, or New Spain. Because Spain used to own all that. But then things start to happen. The beginning of which was the Texas Revolution. Texas wanted independence from Mexico. So they fought it. Remember the Alamo. That's where the battle started. And it ended, it was fought up to, it was not even a year, April 1836, resulted in Texas independence. So Texas became independent from Mexico. All the Mexicans that were in Texas, they had a choice. You can stay here and become citizens, or you can go back to Mexico. A lot of them, the great majority, chose to stay. I mean, you have a family and everything, you might as well just stay. The next thing that happened was the Spanish-American War. Is that the one? No, this is the Mexican-American War. You have the Treaty of Hidalgo in 1848, which ceded much of Mexico's northern territories to the U.S., created the long-standing Mexican-American community in the U.S. And then the Spanish-American War in 1898. All of these things happened, and eventually Spain had to back away. The very first thing, the sinking of the USS Maine in Havana. I have known Cubans that said, the U.S. did that. I don't know. I don't care. But that was the beginning of the whole thing. Because the United States was attacked, so they took it upon themselves. We're going to get involved in this. Eventually, the Treaty of Paris ended the war, with Spain giving up Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines to the U.S. All of them are U.S. territories. Puerto Rico much more so. But they're all part of the U.S. And we lost. Spain lost a whole bunch of land in the process. It wasn't the kingdom it used to be. But still the influence is there. There's neighborhoods. In the big cities, you have neighborhoods that are Hispanic neighborhoods. You've got the Puerto Rican neighborhood. You've got the Dominican neighborhood in New York. The Heights. If you've seen the movie The Heights, you know that the Heights was a big deal. Because that's where you had all the Hispanic stuff. And you have places like this, a lechonera. Anybody know what a lechon is? Pork. Lechon is the pig. So a lechonera is where you go to buy pork. Nicely cooked and crispy, the little crispy chicharron, the whole bit.
May I put a public service announcement in at that point?
Uh-huh.
Where a whole hog was donated to us and we're having a barbecue. For this Feast of St. Francis, you're all invited. I went out the door and forgot to bring the flyers. But maybe I could send one to him and he could email them. But it's 3 to 9. They're cooking it all Friday night. And they're doing some Louisiana style, some regular traditional barbecue. Hey, Bill. And so it's 3 to 9 this Saturday at our place in Moore. So it's 15 minutes from here.
And that's very much the
traditional
way of doing it. When I was little, my dad, my uncle, and some of the other neighbors decided to buy a pig. You get the whole neighborhood involved in it. They killed the pig, they got it ready. They dug a pit, they put the coal at the bottom, they
So
heat
it's
it
cooking
up.
all night, Friday night to
And
Saturday.
yes, you cook it, and then you invite the whole neighborhood over because you got plenty of pork.
A friend of ours, they did it last year. It turned out great.
Is
So
it in an oven or is it in a?
no, it's outdoors in a. They built a.
A pit.
Yeah. It was cinder blocks we had from our. Anyway, so you can come out. They made a party of it last year all night long.
That just sounds good. Sorry.
The
De 3 a 6.
a las 3 hasta las 9.
O 3 a
De las
9.
3 a las 5 hay jugos por todos los niños que somos. De las 5 a las 7 hay la barbacoa y música.
Okay.
So, and then 7 a
Did you
las 9
catch that?
DJ and dancing. So 3 to 5 is games, outdoor games like cornhole, tug of war, gunny sack races. So kids of all ages are welcome. The pool's still open. There'll be volleyball, fish pond, tug of war, basketball, whatever. So
Cool.
games 3 to 5. 5 to 7 is the barbecue and live music. And there'll also be chicken if somebody doesn't eat pork. And salad and
Poor
beans.
chickens.
And then 7 to 9 is a DJ and dancing.
Alright.
You're all invited. If you hadn't mentioned, I would have forgotten because I forgot to bring the.
Well, it's a good thing I mentioned the lechonera.
Yeah, I thought it had something to do with leche. I didn't realize.
No, lechon.
Yeah, I learned. I learned.
Lechon. Of course, the Hispanics are influential in different things. You have Oscar Igueros, who was a prize-winning novelist. Now, was Dolores Huerta, who, along with Cesar Chavez, started the United Farm Workers. Inés Mejia, a botanist and land conservationist. Anthony Quinn. I never knew Anthony Quinn was Hispanic. But he was. Selena, of course. Roberto Clemente, that's my man. Growing up, that was my baseball player.
Yeah.
Number 23 in the Pittsburgh Pirates. And Cesar Chavez. All of them influential. All of them have changed things. All of them have become part of our culture. Sonia Sotomayor, the first Hispanic woman in the Supreme Court.
Ah, yeah.
Sylvia Mendez, who we all know Brown versus the Board of Education, correct? Her case came before Brown versus the Board of Education, and it was to get equal rights for Hispanics to be able to go to school. And Congresswoman Ileana Ross, she's a Cuban senator. Of course, food. I mean, sorry, but food.
Right.
You gotta have it. It's part of it. All of this is slowly coming in our direction, if it is not here already. So we're going to talk about Hispanic Heritage Month, which is from September 15th through October 15th. Reason why it's September 15th is because you have 5 countries that have their Independence Day that day. Mexico is September 16th, and then September 18th is Chile. So it is all started as Hispanic Heritage Day. Then they wanted to add a few more days. Then finally, one of the presidents said, okay, let's just start it on this day, and then on this day, we have a whole month. But it's one of those awkward months where you're halfway through one and halfway through the next one, but there's a reason for it. It's because of the Independence Day of all of these different countries. So what you do is you celebrate. What better thing to do with dancing? Dancing in the streets, you have all kinds of different ways of celebrating all these different countries. Hispanics have also influenced art. Gabriel Garcia Marquez is a writer from South America, and he wrote one of the most confusing books I've read, 100 Years of Solitude, because it goes backwards and forwards in time. But that's just it. Rita Moreno, if you've seen the old West Side Story, she's there, but she's also in the new one, by the way. You also have Jennifer Lopez. Yeah, Martin Sheen, whose real name is Ramon Esteves. And the reason why he changed his name is because Hispanics were only getting the parts with drug dealers and murderers and bad guys, and he said, no, I can't do that. So he changed his name to Martin Sheen, and guess what? He got the lead in different things. That's interesting how Hollywood works, isn't it? And of course, this is Isabel Allende. She's a writer. The arts are influenced by Hispanics. Oops, look it up. There we go. Okay. More arts. Carmen Lomas Garza. I've never met her, but I met her niece, who's a friend of mine in Austin. But she's got a whole series of books about growing up Hispanic, and she does the paintings herself. If you ever find them, any books by Carmen Lomas Garza, you will find a treasure trove of Hispanic culture. All of these different traditions, the prayers, there's another one where if you have something in your ear, if you have an ear infection, if you have your buzzing in your ear, they'll put a little paper cup and burn something to get all the smoke. But supposedly the smoke pulls out whatever it is that you have in your ear. Never tried it. But she's got paintings about, this one's called Camas para Sueños, Beds for Dreaming. While Mom is making the bed down here, they're up there looking at the moon. And she even goes to the detail of adding the cross inside in the room. We're Catholic, so of course we're going to have that in there. Then there's, of course, Fernando Botero, who makes everybody big. And this was called El Cazador, the hunter. And there's a gentleman named Gregorio Marzan from Vega Baja, Puerto Rico, and he did the Statue of Liberty, and to me she looks like an old Jewish woman. But it's his interpretation of it. Whoa. And then, of course, you got sports. I mean, yeah, baseball. There used to be that Saturday Night Live. There used to be a comedian that did a Hispanic baseball player, and his phrase during any interview or any skit that they did was, "Baseball has been very, very good to me." And baseball has been very, very good to Hispanics and other sports. You have Oscar de la Hoya. Oscar de la Hoya. It's Oscar de la Hoya. He's defeated 17 world champions and won 10 world titles in 6 different weight classes. Pablo Sandoval, Venezuelan baseball player, third baseman with San Francisco Giants, lovingly named Kung Fu Panda. Paul Gasol, 7-foot Spanish forward in the LA Lakers, 6-time NBA All-Star and 4-time All-NBA team selection. Lionel Andres Leo Messi, who is from Argentina. He's a forward and captain of both Major League Soccer club Inter Miami and in Argentina. So he's both the captain both here and there. He plays for both. And Rafael Nadal, king of the clay. He's ranked number 1 in tennis singles by the Association of Tennis Professionals. He was there for 201 weeks, which is a record. Finished the year with number 1 5 times, won the Grand Slam men's singles and 14 French Open titles. Gotta get my sports in there. Hispanic statistics. As you know, the Hispanics are growing. The numbers are growing. The total Hispanic firms are into the 5 million. Total sales, 766 billion. The top 30, these are the top 30 Latino-owned companies in the U.S. by revenue. Number 10, if you're Hispanic, you know this, is Goya. Si es Goya, tiene que ser bueno. If it's Goya, it's got to be good. I mean, we grew up with that. And a lot of Hispanics, that is their one mark. But you have all kinds of other companies in there. I want to meet this person. Ruiz Foods. And so I was like, are we related? Of course, then you have this weird combination, Televisa Univision. But these are the top companies. Hispanics were into making our own companies, making our own things. We employ over 2 million people. Did you know also, I read this in one of the articles that I was reading on this stuff, Hispanics tend to employ their family members first. We're gonna have the family involved there. But it's a way of keeping, not just keeping it in the family, but training the family to work. Getting those kids, get the teenagers to work, get the family to work, get them involved with it. We're also in the Senate and the House of Congress. However, so as not to get political, I decided to do the firsts. We have the delegate Joseph Marion Hernandez of the Florida Territory. He was elected in 1822. He was the first Hispanic or Latino American to serve in the United States Congress in any capacity. And then there's this gentleman, Octaviano Ambrosio Larrazolo, first Mexican American and first Latino United States Senator, elected in 1928. So I don't mention any other senators in Congress. I have my own bias with Congress right now. It's like, but I just want to put the firsts up there. It's easier that way. Hispanic students. They represent a significant and growing percentage of the population. They make up about 27% of public school. The enrollment in colleges and universities has also increased to nearly 40% of high school graduates enrolling in post-secondary education. And in 2022, Hispanic students earned 25.9% of the associate degrees and 16.3% of the bachelor's degrees. Percentage of STEM degrees awarded to Hispanic students increased from 9.2 to 15.6. So we're making strides. Hispanics are making their way into everything. You have to fight things though, because you have the culture that dad runs a business and dad doesn't want his son going. And I know this from one of my students. His dad doesn't want him to go to college. Dad wants him to stay here, work in the business. Sometimes you gotta find a happy medium point where both can talk and say, you know what, maybe you can go to school, maybe get a business degree, that'll help me out here. Or, however it happens to be, but you have a lot of other things that are happening. The graduation rates are around 80%. For comparison, the national average is 90%, but for comparison, white students is 92%, black students around 79%, and Asian Americans are around 94%. So we're moving up in the graduation. Post-secondary enrollment, nearly 40% of high school students, Hispanic high school students enroll in college, compared to 50% of whites, 40% of black, and 60% of Asian American. And then bachelor's degree completion, about 20% completed. 40% of the white adults have one, 25% of black adults, 60% of Asian Americans. Things one step at a time. Of course you've got to have the news media, you've got to have entertainment. This is becoming one of the top ones. They're becoming some of the top entertainment that you have. You have Telemundo, BBC, they have BBC Mundo, they have BBC Arab, BBC, depending on what country you want, they have it on there. CNN has CNN, they have a little ñ on top. Telemundo, Televisa, Univision, TV Azteca, these are all from here. Of course, it's not just that. They've become their own. Used to be Twitter, is now X. So you have the advertising of these things is crazy. People love this. I did not know this. There's a place called Enamorándonos. We're falling in love. Enamorar is to fall in love. Enamorándonos. Turns out it's a dating game, and it's like a big deal. I did not know this existed. Of course, like I said, ESPN Sports is there, and the Chivas is one of the top ones above all. You will find that not just Telemundo, but NBC or some of the other stations will try and get the Chivas contract. Soccer. Hispanic immigrants are more likely to get their news in Spanish than those born in the U.S. 41% of the immigrants want to watch it in Spanish. Well, of course, but they still haven't learned but U.S. born 81%. It's all right. Because really in 2024, about 50% of the U.S. adults get their news from social media. Specifically, 37% Facebook, 40% TikTok, 30% Instagram. X is higher with 65% of its user engaging in news content. And of course, Hispanics were right there. We're involved with that too. Top 10 Hispanic Latino networks, Univision, Telemundo, and Unimas. Unimas is like a Univision, but plus. And then you have TUDN, Estrella, Galavisión, Universo, Discovery Channel en español, ESPN Sports and Fox Deportes. If you see it, the average audience is 383,000 people that watch it in Spanish. The top things though, you have the Super Bowl. It's the Premio Lo Nuestro, of course, is an award given by Hispanics to Hispanics. Lo Nuestro, what's ours. But the second one is the Super Bowl in Spanish. They're gonna watch it. Then the next one is, of course, that one, Enamorándonos. By the way, they have an island now. I started researching this. Enamorándonos, the island, la isla. They drop them off there and see if they fall in love. All this in front of the cameras. Major League Baseball All-Star Game. Chivas. Right there. All of those. The Spanish television is so important right now that some of the American networks are looking to buy the Spanish networks. NBC, I believe, is looking into buying one of the Spanish networks because they have money coming. They have more money coming in. They have a whole new audience to create. As far as radio, we have here in Texas. Here in Oklahoma, we got Z101, Ritmo, and Éxitos. All of them with Tyler Media. Overall, we have Latino, Tricolor, and one in Amor, which are with iHeart. And this is not even counting, Éxitos with Cox Media. And this is not even counting podcasts. If you ever look for a podcast in Spanish, take a look. And this was just one page. There's a lot. Not only are there some for learning. Yes, there was some stuff found in translation, news in slow Spanish. All of these are those are podcasts for learning the language. But you have stuff like Latino Business Report, Life as a Gringo. Oh my goodness. Café con Pam. So you have all of these different ones. And it's just what is the perspective? Looking at life from the perspective of a Latino. And it's out there. Growth trends, population. We're growing. We're about 19% of the population, which is about 62 million people. And it tends to be more youth than adults. The median age is around 30, compared with 39. Youth. Yeah, for some of us, that's youth. Regionally, geographic concentration, yes, we know, is California, Texas, Arizona, those states up there. Arizona, by the way, means dry zone, although there's some other groups that are saying, no, it comes from the native word for something, and I'm like, no, Arizona, dry zone, but still. And they tend to go into the urban areas. They tend to want to live in the big cities. LA, Houston, Miami. Miami is like another Hispanic city. And there's a lot of diversity within the community itself, which is what makes people uncomfortable with Hispanic sometimes. Because we're not just Hispanic. We're Mexican, Cuban, Puerto Rican, Venezuelan, Peruvian. We're different things. We all communicate with each other, and there are some stuff that are basic to all of us. But don't you dare call a Puerto Rican or Mexican. Oh, angry. because that's insulting. It's not that they have anything against Mexicans. It's that we're very proud of who we are and where we come from, which makes it for a very awkward thing for English speakers because it's like, well, but you're all Hispanic. Yeah, we're all Hispanic, but we're also all different. Go figure. We like to do that. Spanish is the predominant language. There's some variation, but not a whole lot. It's like kind of like saying, I think that would be fun to do. We did it one year where how do you say this in Spanish here? How do you say this in Spanish there? We have little words here and there that are a little bit different. Like camión. In Mexico, a camión is a bus. But a camión in other places is a truck. So it depends on where you're from. So there's even the language is a little bit different. And I think that's it. We're trying to get you a little bit of an idea of being Hispanic, of what's happening in the trench with Hispanic. I'll come up with something a little more scholarly next time, maybe. I don't know. Did you like this one?